Steelers Nation, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to finally get over the hump to get to that Super Bowl that you've been sorely missing? So we got Lauren back with us this week for our final rendition of our Steelers series video to discuss the future of the Steelers. Let's go.
We really have to.
That leads me into my next question.
Yeah.
The future of the team and where do we go from here? Because I have some thoughts about it, and I want to get your perspective on it because I do believe that it is a little bit of a yesteryear narrative or yesteryear mindset in the organization that needs to progress. At some point, in life in general, you got to pivot and stay current, right?
Yep.
So I do believe that you could do yourself a service by getting yourself a more modern and more innovative offensive coordinator, number one. And two, I think you need to take a big swing and get yourself a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
Where that is and who that is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's a rookie. I'm not sure if it's a veteran that's, not, going to be with his team anymore for whatever reason.
Right.
Hell, they might, they're talking about Stafford's future being, up in the air for the Rams, potentially. They might draft a quarterback. So let's say you spend, a couple of years with Stafford. He still got juice. You see, he was one play away from, being an NFC title game himself with a rebuilding team. So,
right.
Something of that nature. So how do you feel about any of those things? Like, you think that would any of those things shake up the narrative?
I feel like if we're going to go down the road of continuing to bring in veteran quarterbacks and trying to repurpose them for what it is that we're looking for, we might as well just stick with what we have, and that's Russell Wilson. That's just my personal thought about that. Like I said, I personally like Russell Wilson. I'm sad. I'm upset with how things ended. I'm sad and upset with how he played towards the end as well, because there is some accountability that needs to be put on why am I having a Russell, throwing into triple coverage, to Calvin Austin. Like, I didn't get that at all. Let's say for whatever reason that things just remain the same without question. Let's say that we don't do anything with or let's say that we extend Russ and we sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal. We have got to find a way to strengthen our receiving core.
Agreed.
Like we absolutely have to. And it's so clear that our GM Omar Khan, in my opinion, he just didn't do enough. I think he put all of his eggs in one basket and trying to get Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk was doing what most players do when they're trying to get the bag and finding out which team is going to give them the best offer. I think that he thought that we were just based on how everything was sort of unfolding, it seemed like it was going to be a done deal. Like, it seemed like he was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And then when it didn't happen, I think the mindset was, okay, we didn't get Brandon. Let's see what we can do with what we have.
Right.
And I don't know that was a good idea by any means whatsoever. Right. I'm sad over the fact that we never got to see Roman Wilson, the receiver that we got out of Michigan.
Yeah, him getting hurt was a big blow for you guys.
I'm really sad that we weren't able to see him. Us getting Mike Williams in free agency, I'm sad that it felt like we just didn't utilize him at all. Like, half the time you didn't even know he was in the game. Like I think his first game with us was in Washington. You didn't see the guy the whole game, and then all of a sudden Russ just throws his moon ball up, and there he is, and he comes down with it for the touchdown. And it's like, I didn't even know he was in the lineup. I didn't even know he was there, and it really felt like that as it pertained to him. I'm trying to think who else.
That's not much else. I mean, it's not much else there,
And Jefferson, I don't think he was the answer. I think he's extremely inconsistent. Not the answer. I would love to see us try and make a push for T. Higgins, but I feel like we're going to have to get in line for that one.
Right ahead of that line. I think we're going to try to spend some money on him. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I definitely agree. He'll be a hot target on the market for sure.
Yeah. I agree. Going back to the whole quarterback conversation, I do feel like us drafting Kenny Pickett really set us back,
Yeah, I
and
agree with that.
a lot of people don't agree with this. I really wish that we had a better succession plan after Ben. It really didn't feel like we did. It was just kind of like, well, Ben's done, so now we're in a situation where we have to draft a quarterback, and I wasn't really a fan of. I never
That
liked the Kenny
draft, if
Pickett.
you look back at that draft was not good for quarterbacks, period.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah,
It's kind of like this draft. You got two quarterbacks that kind of like, they could potentially be good depending on where they go, and where they land. Outside of
right.
that, it's a bunch of I don't knows. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody in that draft that Kenny Pickett came out of is playing at this moment, starting.
Right. Yeah. That's the crazy thing. That's
So
that's really the crazy thing. But I think we've gotta figure out what we're doing with receivers, and we've got to figure out what we're doing at quarterback. And you look at the teams who are still alive in the playoffs. What do they all have? They all have quarterbacks.
that they
You
do.
know, the
Quarterback league.
Commanders, they got one. They
They do.
got one in Jaden Daniels.
They do.
The Eagles, they have one in Jalen Hurts.
Uh-huh.
The Bills have one in Josh Allen,
Yep.
and obviously the
Patrick
Kansas City
Mahomes.
Chiefs have one with Patrick Mahomes,
Yep.
And going back to the whole coaching thing, I really wish that Mike Tomlin, um a lot of people like to or as of recently have been talking about, the whole Andy Reid effect where like he did all he could do in Philadelphia. It was time for change. It was time for new scenery. And, he went to Kansas City and the rest is history, right? And I just really feel like Andy Reid gets it. He gets where today's game is, especially on offense.
Right.
And he really found even they talk about it, all the time and how he was like really, really adamant in wanting to draft Patrick Mahomes and the rest is history with that. And I just feel like Andy Reid, he adapted to today's game. Like he understood that if he was going to stick around and if he was still going to be of any type of value, like he had to go in the direction in which the NFL was going on offense, and
Well,
I
that's
just feel
that's
like
the mind of offensive guy because if you don't stay current with as an offensive guy,
right,
you'll be out of a job.
right,
Defense guys
exactly,
kind of hang around because those type of jobs aren't has as much eyes on it as an offensive person is because play calling and scoring points is what everybody's focusing on. So
right,
if you're a defensive guy on a coaching center like Mike Vrabel, Coach Tomlin, Pete Carroll, you get
right,
jobs. But if you're not an innovative and progressive offensive guy, you will be out of a job very, very quickly. So
yeah,
he gets it.
yep. So that's yeah, we definitely need some help on offense. I mean, to be fair, we did rack up some injuries. I mean, we lost our center. Zach Frazier did very well, I would say. I felt like he held his own as a rookie. Um, you know, we just injuries were a big part of from an offensive line standpoint as to why things maybe played a factor into why we didn't do well and why we weren't able to run the ball at the way in which we potentially could have with Najee, or it just could be Najee. I honestly don't know because I feel like I'm Najee's biggest critic. Like his rookie, that was someone that we wanted. We were like, yes, we need a running back. We sent
Right.
Connor went to Arizona, and it was like that. Let's get our running back, and we got him out of Alabama. He was superb. He was awesome. He was great, and obviously we were expecting to see more of that in Pittsburgh. And it was, he had some splashes here and there. He did fairly well, but I think I was expecting him to go to the next level, his second year. And I don't know. It's just his running style is just so very inconsistent to me. And yeah, but I think well, it'll be interesting to see if we sign him to a long-term deal. I know he's,
I think that's doubtful. If I were them, I would try to get more dynamic at running back if I was them. But that's just me.
I wouldn't be upset with that if that ended up happening.
Right.
If I'm being completely honest. So I just I gotta tell you, man, I was so mad when we lost. I told myself that I wasn't going to be mad if we lost to the Ravens, which we ended up losing to the Ravens. But I just already knew what the narrative was going to be. What are we going to do at quarterback? What are we going to do in the draft? And are we going to try to get some type of draft capital in potentially trading George Pickens?
Oh wow. Okay.
I think that George Pickens is truly a phenomenal receiver. I think there's a lot of talent that he has. And to some extent, I feel like there's a lot more that we have the potential to see out of him, but because we are what we are, we just haven't been able to. I mean, and I'll say too, like, I feel like he's got a lot of growing up to do. I think, you know, he's not quite there from a maturity standpoint, which hopefully he will, but I feel like in some ways we are kind of holding him back. I feel like we're holding a lot of guys back because of how this team is being coached and how it's being ran. And we got to figure this out, and we got to figure this out fast. But I also made the point too with some friends in that, you know, maybe we're just completely going over the top because of the social media era that we live in. You know, like, I think about it, what, you know, all the years that it took Cowher to finally win his first Super Bowl,
Right.
You know, getting there and then losing and then, you know, working his way to get back. And granted, he did get playoff wins, you know, throughout that run, but it's like, I just feel like things are just, because we have so much insider knowledge and the media that's there and reporting what they're seeing on social media, it feels like we're there in that room with them. And it feels like we've just sort of given ourselves the right to feel the way that we feel. But I don't know. Maybe we're all just looking at this completely wrong, you know, but nonetheless, I still think that the needs in terms of, you know, receivers, in terms of figuring out what the heck we're going to do at quarterback is still very much there, you know. Russ, I think he's 37 years old. Like I said, I love the guy. I think he's great, but I know he's not going to last forever.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and maybe he's truly not the answer for the Steelers, you know, and that's just something that I'll have to be okay with and something that I'll have to live with. I personally am not like, well, let's make Justin Fields QB1. I saw what I saw. Okay. I saw what I saw, and everyone else saw the same thing, but for whatever reason just has this optimism that like he could truly be our future. And I personally don't think that's the case. We need a quarterback like a Josh Allen, like a Lamar Jackson, like a Joe Burrow. Like, the NFC North, it's always been a tough division, but, you know, outside of the Browns, you know, Ravens have their guy, Bengals have their guy.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the Browns are the Browns, so they're consistent, and they're on script with the way that things are working out. But we need our guy, and unfortunately, Kenny Pickett wasn't it, and we've just been swimming in the middle of the ocean trying to get things figured out with no help.
Understood. So I think we both kind of agree that either we got to make a splash at quarterback and get weapons on the offensive side, you know, to kind of keep pace offensively, and hopefully, you know, Arthur Smith won't do Arthur Smith like things like he did in Atlanta, and you know, you can figure things out. But yeah, I mean, you gotta do something to keep pace, because again, the division is not going anywhere, the AFC is not going anywhere, and I feel like it's only going to get stronger. You know, the Broncos are in the conversation now because they got a quarterback and a good coach.
And I tell you what, the Broncos, after they played us, they turned it on. Like, they turned it on and were able to get to where they ultimately got in making it to the playoffs. But yeah, the Broncos definitely have something in Bo Nix.
Right. So I believe that, you know, 3 teams out of the AFC West are going to be good going forward. 3 teams should be good in the AFC North. The West and the North should be 3 teams out of that. The Bills aren't going anywhere. Of course, the Texans aren't going anywhere. They're young and feisty. DeMeco Ryans led group. And, you know, definitely one team out of the East, and maybe the Patriots start to come back into the fold with Vrabel, and now they got McDaniels. So, you know, So I think that the writing's on the wall that you have to make a big splash and make it soon if you don't want to get left behind.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to. It's critical. It's absolutely critical, because, I mean, outside of what the fan, you know, narrative is and fan opinions are, like, we've got to improve. We're just standing still, you know.
Understood. Yeah, you're running on the treadmill. You're walking, but you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, perfect example, perfect analogy for sure.
Indeed. Okay. So. All right. Well, I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Madam. I definitely
absolutely.
Time.
I'm always down to talk Steeler ball.
Indeed. You are definitely our ordained NFL insider for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Lockdown Divas Podcast Network. So sure. surely you're definitely that. Anytime you want to come back, anything I can do to help out in your journey, please let me know. And
For
as
sure.
always, please, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, please give everybody your socials, how they can reach you online and things of that nature if they want to talk to you directly.
Yeah, so I can be reached across all socials at Lauren WKR. It's basically LAUREN WKR. On Twitter, Threads, Twitch, YouTube, all of it. So I'm looking to really start to ramp up content again here now that I've got all my ducks in a row and I'm trying to get things back on track. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for some content in the future. And again, thank you so much for having me on the show. I would love to come back and talk draft when the time comes.
Oh, well, yes, we're going to cover that in great detail. So we'll definitely bring you back to that and get your insight on that, so we can give you our feedback and you give us yours as well. We can kind of bounce off each other. So yeah, absolutely,
definitely.
But yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for our Madam Lauren WKR. We appreciate you. And as always, for the Lockdown Defense family, appreciate everybody that came through and indulged us in this time. And as always, catch us Monday through Friday, each and every day. We're dropping content for the NFL. And until then, as always, you got to step up to lock it down.